Bienvenidos al desmadre que va a ser este show. But before we get started, we're going to do a little dinámica con las rapiditas. So this is what's going to happen. I'm going to be asking aquí mi compañera a series of questions, and you only have nothing to do but to answer what comes to your mind. Por eso, rapidita, bebé.
I'm scared. Okay.
Okay, ready? ¿Arriba o abajo?
Abajo.
¿De día o de noche?
De noche.
¿Con pelo o sin pelo?
Con pelo.
¿Grande o gruesa?
Gruesa.
¿Te muerden o muerdes?
Uy, los dos.
Y ahí está esta cochinada. ¿Quién sigue?
Okay, go. Rápido o lento.
Lento.
¿Gritas o no gritas?
Grito. Ay, no.
Ahí fue tan bueno.
A ver, Ana Sheila.
A ver.
¿De día o de noche?
De día. Me gusta levantarme tempranito.
¿Arriba o abajo?
Más arriba que abajo.
¿Muerdes o rasguñas?
Las dos. A ver, I got one.
A ver.
Le vi, ¿en la alberca o en el avión?
En la alberca.
Ninguno.
En el avión. Girl, I haven't done that yet.
¿Asada o el pastor? Taking a PG over here.
Al pastor.
Al pastor.
Pastor.
¿Lengua o chorizo?
Ninguno, güey. I'm plant forward.
I forgot.
Dijo, papaya. Ya, empezamos.
Las Paleteras.
Bueno, amigues, ya estamos aquí.
Finally.
Oh my God, after
So many months in the making.
Conversations,
From Zoom
outfits.
meetings, we're finally in person.
Y honestly, yo creo que años in the making. You know,
Años
if
in
you
the
think
making,
about
that's
like
true,
how
true.
we know each other and how we came together and like seeing where we are now, like it like kind of makes sense si lo piensas,
Sí.
¿no?
Somos las paleteras. Bienvenides a esto. That's been years in the making.
Sí. ¿Cómo nos conocemos?
Bueno, okay.
El
The real
story.
tea is here. The
The
real
real
tea is here. Las tres nos conocimos en una peda in a small town in Mexico, Nezahualcóyotl. To be real. But from there, I think it's been super cool that we've been able to have collaborations. We've seen each other in community events, and we've been around one another. But I think truly the most beautiful thing is que nos conocimos en una peda.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that we were going to come together and say, let's do a podcast and call it Las Paleteras. I never thought about that for a little bit. But before we get started into what is Las Paleteras, I think it'd only be fair if, like, you know, we took some time to tell people who we are. What do we do? ¿Qué haces? What you about? Where you from?
Yeah. ¿Quién empieza?
I can start.
Da.
I am from the Midwest. Not that exciting, but my family's from Mexico, from Jalisco and Los Altos. I grew up in like Texas, also in Chicago, Midwest Indiana, Northwest Indiana. But yeah, I've been in LA for 5 years. I work in marketing full time, but I'm an actor, writer, work in production, which is like the dream. That's kind of it. I'm queer.
And you're
Bitch,
here?
from the Midwest.
It is queer?
It is gay.
It is gay? It is homo?
I'm like, you're from the Midwest?
Yeah, you didn't know?
güey.
No.
I like lived in Southside Chicago, then my parents like randomly moved to Northwest Indiana. Like I came back from Mexico one summer, my dad's like, we're moving, and I'm like, girl, where? And it was all white people. It was like me and 5 other Mexicans in our class, and like a few other minorities, and that was it.
Es
So
lo
it
que
was
les
very
pasa
weird.
cuando you make friends en la peda. You know this bitch can twerk, but I didn't know she was from the Midwest. What?
Dude, yeah. And then I went to school in Chicago, so I claimed Chicago,
Because, yeah.
not Northwest Indiana.
A ver, tú, Ana Sheila.
I'm from Mexico City originally, and I feel like that really informs a lot of like the quién soy, because I feel like algo que me di cuenta, something I realized is that me caigo más bien en español. I just feel like that's my most like it's a language I learned to love in, and you know, as you both know, I moved back. I'm from Mexico City, but I didn't grow up there. So when I moved back there a few years ago, improving my Spanish felt like I was accessing like a part of me that I had been lost. Entonces, como que eso, like that really informs a big part of me, is that just continuously looking to connect con quién soy and who I lost through the education that we, you know, get in these oppressive systems, which I feel like really get us away from the who we truly are. And I feel like that's part of what I want to bring to this podcast, is I want everyone to feel closer to who they are, because all of us, through capitalism, through patriarchy, todos los estos, we've lost connection to like really who we are. So that's part of who I am and what I do. I soy a coach, aspiring bruja. I work a lot on like culture and well-being for different organizations and corporations y cosas así. And I just want everybody, my main mission is for people to be like, just less, for us to suffer less because there's already enough suffering in the world, and for us to be closer to who we really are and getting back to that. So
I love that.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And I had a podcast for a long time. Y pues ya súper emocionada to be doing this because it really feels like, coming back to like being who I really am, this podcast feels like a better representation of like, an evolution of donde estoy yo and what feels important to me. And it's really beautiful that Nalgona actually was on my former podcast. And you just have such a beautiful energy. And y cuando me preguntaste, like we met in Mexico and you were like, hey, what if we do a podcast? And I was like, it just felt so, it's just so divinely como timed and, so it just feels like really like como que that continuation of getting back to like who I really am.
No, I appreciate that. Y pues ya como dijo aquí mi compañera, my name is José Richard Avilés, alias Nalgona. And people only know me Nalgona because of social media. And then we were all stuck in our houses watching Clubhouse. And my shit was like, Nalgona. And so everyone calls me Nalgona. Tendré, no sé, pero...
A ver.
A ver, vuelta.
Vuelta.
Me dicen Nalgona no por las nalgas, sino por las nalgadas, bebé. I am from South Central Los Angeles. Shout out to South Central LA from the 213 before it was the 213. If you know, you know.
Hey.
I was like, what was I going to say? I am half Salvadorian, half Mexican, so I call myself a putaco, mitad pupusa, mitad taco, pero siempre puta. Siempre puta. I currently live in Mexico City, pero by the time this is out, I'm already home, so you don't even see it.
You didn't even feel it.
You didn't even feel it. No, but I'm the oldest in my family, child of immigrants, all that fun stuff. Born and raised here in the city. I've been organizing since the age of 15, primarily with the Bus Riders Union here in Los Angeles around transit and mobility justice. And then, of course, did the whole marriage equality thing. O sea, un andado en las calles, siempre. Now I'm an urban planner and an artist. So during the day, I work on transportation and mobility justice. I'm like, I stay doing the same thing. But
in this outfit?
In this outfit.
Baby, listen. I'm showing up to city council looking cute, okay? And I'm also an artist. I do poetry and dance and a little bit of stand-up comedy. Así que it is an honor to be here with you both in Las Paleteras. And you may be wondering, ¿qué chingados son las paleteras? ¿Y por qué las paleteras? Well, I thought we first could start off with, what paleta are you?
My paleta is de limón. Kind of like this, like your suit. Like literally, I feel like that I should have been wearing that for limón. But yeah, limón. I feel like desde chiquito, like my whole family knows, like cuando quiero una nieve, una paleta, siempre es de limón. And like recently now le pongo chamoy, or ya venden like paletas de limón con chamoy, like little mango y tajín. But yeah, limón, I don't know. I just like it. It's so good. I feel like I love everything con limón.
Yeah.
Like paletas de limón when there's like lemon or lime. Lemon or lime. Una de esas. I feel like I get those two confused.
Yo también, but that's a Mexican thing. Now I understood.
That's a Mexican thing, yeah. I'm like, todo limón y lime, I'm obsessed with.
Yo también, pues esa no es mi paleta, pero obsesionada con los limones. I mean, that makes sense. But I used to actually, like, los limones, I used to, like, eat them as my freaking snack. Like, los cortaba y les ponía un poquito
solo?
Un limón, un poquito de sal y chupándomelo así.
¿Pero no tardía?
Güey, pues me encantó hasta que me empezaron a doler los dientes y siento que ya...
Todo el ácido.
Y ya no pude porque...
Did you have silver teeth as a kid?
No, I know. Pero pues ahora siento que they're a little bit thinner because I had so much limón.
More sensitive, probably.
Yeah.
For todo el ácido.
Pero anyways, mi paleta es de coco. Y siento que y eso me representa de coco de leche. Así como when you still have the little pieces of coco, you know what I'm saying? Like you could feel the little strips. That's mine. And I feel like that's representative of me because I feel like you wouldn't think a little kid likes la de leche de coco, but that's just like I feel like I've been like a old person desde que estaba niña, ¿no? Que todo me gustaba. My favorite cereal wasn't like Captain Crunch or like whatever those other. Era Honey Bunches of Oats cuando tenía 8 años, güey. So like that.
Yo agarraba el cereal
I've been like in all the old
azúcar.
shit. I was way too grown for my age. ¿Perdón?
I would put sugar on all those
Sugar
cereals.
on those cereals?
Like, yo
With
quería
the
que
ones
había
with already sugar in it?
Yeah, yo le ponía con una cuchara de azúcar, and I would wait till se acababa el cereal, y le agarraba la cuchara con el azúcar at the bottom. It was so
No.
good.
Bro, like the
Diabetes.
fact that we were being served this as kids is wild to me. Y todavía, ¿no?
Sí.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
still like it.
A ver, ¿y tú?
The funny thing is, here's the tea. I don't like paletas.
Oh.
I don't like them. And here's the only reason why.
Fuera. Fuera.
Pero oye, se llama este show Las
I
Paleteras.
just say. Lo que uno hace para convivir. The thing is, I've never liked sweets, though. I've never liked sweets. And two, I don't.
Oh my God, is that a Capricorn thing?
Yeah, maybe.
No, casi no nos gusta.
But like my like the one paleta I would make an excuse for is a mangoneada.
Okay.
Like it's sweet enough that it has mango, and I can tolerate the mango, but also like the little chiles, y le echan chamoy or tajincito. Like it has to have that little chile for me to be able to eat it.
Okay.
And the thing is that I don't bite my paletas. I suck the shit out of them.
Y además.
La paleta, amiga, la paleta.
Cómete la paleta.
The only reason is because you know how people have those reactions when you're scratching a chalkboard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what ice does to me. Like the
And, like,
thought
biting
of,
it too?
And biting it. The thought, like
Por
ya
eso me
already
gusta la
got-
de leche, because you could like suck on it a little more.
Sí, por eso. Ajá.
Le gusta el juguito.
¿A quién no le gusta la
A mí
leche?
me gusta chuparle y después morderle poquito. Y a,
No que
Yeah, girl, ¿y también las uñas?
No que plant-based.
y a ti, César, ¿cómo te gusta comértela?
Dude, I'm addicted to paletas.
¿Y
Like,
pero cómo te las comes?
yo
Like, le muerdes
Me gusta-
mal, le chupas mal.
chupar y después le muerdo poquito. Le voy
También,
mordiendo,
también,
le
así-
voy mordiendo.
sí, sí, sí.
Yeah.
But okay,
Okay.
So now that we all have our paletas, why this podcast? Why Las Paleteras? I think you mentioned something about it earlier that this represents you a little bit more from the other projects that you were in.
Yeah,
Why?
se siente como un evolution of like, you know, I feel like cuando empiezas a sentir como que we always know when we're ready for a change because we start to feel, at least I don't know where y'all feel it, but I start to feel something in my chest and in my stomach. Empiezo a sentir una tensión, like a tension, and it just gets louder and louder. And you just feel like, I felt like, okay, ya estoy like lista for something that represents like my queerness a little bit more. And that felt really, really important because I feel like my queerness has been the source of my liberation. And the more that I like lean into it, the more that I find peace. And so como que eso se sintió como una manera de leaning into that. And I think just working with both of you, like we have such a beautiful story of how we've met, like me and Cesar. I feel like I'm really proud. Cesar feels like my little brother.
I met her like when I was super, like just moved to LA.
You just
too.
moved to LA.
Yeah.
We met, and the way we kind of interacted more is que I recruited him for this writing class. We were in like this small little Latine writing class. And it's been really beautiful to see César, like, you know, really like explore writing in a more formal way. Está escribiendo, está actuando. And it feels really beautiful to see that and now to be on this creative project. Yeah.
Yeah. Even when you told me, when I was in college, I was majoring in like PR and advertising and journalism. I always wanted to do like broadcast journalism and be like the new Mario Lopez. And then I was like, wait, there's like no jobs. But the dorm that I lived in Chicago, downstairs, I had a radio show and like the radio station, everything. And I actually started a like Latino radio show with my other Mexican friend. We were like the only Mexicans on the same floor. And I started doing it then. And then we had like a podcast with this other like network. But I feel like when you asked me about this, I was like, wait, this is kind of perfect. Because when I did that, I was like 18, 19, 20. And I feel like that person that I was back then is so different to what I am now. And I feel like now that I've lived through other stuff, I feel like there's more like to talk about. I don't know. So I feel like it felt like a full circle moment. I was like, oh yeah, like I miss like chismeando, podcasting. So this is perfect.
And it's been cool porque I feel like we've known each other at this point for several years, and but we haven't always been like super like tight with each other. And I think that we've seen each other kind of evolve through social media y los poquitos así toques que tenemos. But like I feel like we have an opportunity here to like just really como no sé ver cosas like florecer. Like I'm excited because 100%. We know each other, but we don't know, like, you know, I feel like there's so much that we can get to know each other.
Aside from las pedas.
Yeah.
Así sí nos conocemos, ¿eh? En las pedas sí nos conocemos.
Pregúntale a Espartacos por nosotras.
No pregunte.
No, I mean, I honestly, that's exactly one of the big things why I wanted to be a part of this project when we talked about it. And it's because I think it's beautiful where, again, we know of each other, but we don't know each other, which to me is not a bad thing because then we can invite you all to get to see us unfold and to like talk about very real things.
Yeah.
And I remember telling you, for me particularly, what was interesting, bitch, I love talk shows. The Real, Cristina Saraley, pinche Wendy Williams. Oh, love to her. Pero I love talk shows. And I think it was always interesting in seeing talk shows develop that like people would be like, it's because women this and men this. And it's like, no, bebe, eso es falta de comunicación. Like, just because you don't know how to communicate, it's not like a sexuality or a gender thing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I've always wanted, like, we need like that little vibe. Like, let's talk about the real things. Like, not your typical, sorry, shout out, pero soporten, cabronas. Like your gay podcast are talking about bottoming and topping and cruising and sniffing. Chingada madre, cállense.
We might have an episode on that.
I
No,
mean,
I'm
like,
kidding.
Pero, like, eso
We
no
might have an
es-
episode, but
it's not- that's not the
episode
focus.
5,
That-
6.
yeah.
No, like I think what we were talking
Yeah.
about, like we don't talk enough about what aging looks like
Yeah.
now that we're aging or that we're at the age that we are, that we're not talking about retirement, what that looks like. Also, that real life shit that's going on, but through this very unique perspective that we bring as queer
Yeah.
folks, right?
And I think it's beautiful because we do share that, queer identity, but we also have very different backgrounds también,
Yeah.
you know.
Pues ya que nos conocimos un poquito más and we dive into the mero mole, you know,
Amigas, amigos, amiguis.
¿Qué tienes para nosotros? Ah.
No es cierto.
Mira, les tengo un tree, una paletita para cada una.
Pero no tengo dinero.
Bueno, para ti o
Aquí somos las paleteras.
Ama, ¿tienes cash?
Ay.
Thank you.
Y se estarán preguntando,
Oh my God.
¿quién es este mango aquí?
Este mango.
¿Por qué no le dices quién
Preséntate.
eres?
Bueno, soy el productor de Las Paleteras, también soy el paletero, el mero paletero y también amigo del grupo y es un placer trabajar en este proyecto que está tan bonito y estamos súper emocionados, tan emocionados que se nos caen las paletas, pero sí estamos súper emocionados de tener este proyecto y sacarlo adelante. Pero sí, disfruten, chúpenle, no la muerdan.
Girl?
Gracias.
Thank you.
El productor.
De limón. Todos tienen chamoy y mango.
¿Ese qué es? ¿Esa es la mangoneada? ¿La famosa mangoneada? ¿A que sí te
Eso
gusta?
es con limón,
La
chamoy
única
y
paleta que te
tajín.
gusta.
Why do you think we got these?
Están ricas, están muy ricas.
Well, I'm curious to hear a little bit about, ya que estamos aquí comiendo paletitas.
Oh, paletitas, como cuando
Right,
estábamos
sí.
niñitas, ¿no?
Yeah,
Eso.
exactly. ¿Ves? Por eso trabajamos juntas, amiga, porque nos entendemos. How were you as kids? Like as children?
Pues mira, like, nos movimos from Mexico City to Chicago. Yo tenía como 5 añitos, entonces bien chiquita nos movimos toda mi familia. And I'm the oldest of 2. Entonces I feel like my dad, ya falleció desafortunadamente, love him so much, pero I feel like at times como que él era otro hijo for my mom. You know what I'm saying? Like you can imagine that, right? Like sometimes the dads can be, not just dads, pero like dads can be como a veces otros niños, ¿verdad? Mamás, like they take on a lot of responsibility. So I feel like from a very young age, I felt like I needed to be my mom's like right hand, you know? So I was like 5, 6 years old and I was like, well, I got to make sure my little brother, like que se porte bien because I don't want to add more pressure to like everything that my mom already does. And so yo empecé así como niña muy demasiado madura. And I feel like now as an adult, I'm like kind of like experiencing some of the inner like little kid joy that I feel like from a very young age, I didn't feel that. Yo me sentía siempre like always a little bit more mature. And I think that happens to a lot of like the oldest Latino children sometimes, especially daughters, as you do feel como that responsibility to be like kind of a grown-up like really soon, you know? Yeah, un poquito de mí, pero yeah. Yeah.
What about you, Cesar?
I'm also like the oldest sibling. It's me and my little sister. Yeah.
We're all the oldest.
También?
Yeah, you too?
What?
And I feel like
That's a whole nother episode because the
And-
trauma challenges.
But continue, I'm sorry.
She's my best friend, younger sister. I
Aw.
love her so much. Shout out to Stephanie. But I feel like growing up as an older sibling, you kind of have to like do a lot of things for your parents and like translate a lot of stuff. Or there's a lot of
Yeah.
documents that you don't know what's going on, but you're there to help your parents. But I feel like from a young age, my sister had cancer when she was younger, so I feel like a lot of attention went to my little sister, and I just did everything that I could to be like the best brother, the best student, so that my parents have to worry about me and just like focus on her. which I feel like helped me grow a lot. And I feel like todo lo que quería was like, I'm gonna work, I'm gonna do this, I wanna go here, I wanna move there, like I wanna travel. So I kind of just like, I don't know, I feel like I crecí rápido, but I had a great childhood. Like we had a great childhood. Like all my summers were spent in Mexico. So I feel like I got to see my grandparents and have that like culture around me all the time. But dude, being queer and like little, like was not, I don't know, because I grew up with a lot of like very macho, like vaquero men. Like,
because you're from, like, your family's from
yeah,
el
my
rancho,
family's from el
¿verdad?
rancho, un pueblito,
Like-
like todos se conocen, but my tíos are very like macho men. They work in construction, they're not vaqueros, like they're always dressed like super manly. And I feel like for me, I don't know, I was like navigating different situations. Like I played with Barbies with all my primas and my sister. Like all my primas would cover for me. Like I had like one little like male like soldier, like a carrito. Pero yo andaba con todas las Barbies. Y cuando escuchamos mi tía llegar a la puerta, I would like throw the Barbie away and like grab the little car or
So
something.
you remember that?
Yeah, I would always.
You remember that, like, you weren't supposed to do that.
I wasn't supposed to do it because I'm like, no, guys don't play with like pink or like with dolls or muñecas. But my little sister too, I feel like I traumatized her because I was always telling her which Barbies to buy. I'm like, get these Polly Pockets, get these Barbies. And I would just get like whatever toy. But like me and her would play, she would cover for me. All my primas would cover for me. Yeah, they all
So
know I
you,
play
how
with
little,
dolls.
do you remember how old were you? How old you were?
I mean, like 4 or 5. I mean, my
Yeah,
whole,
so
like,
but you remember that.
yeah.
That's crazy.
And we still talk about it today. We're like, ¿te acuerdas cuando tenías todas tus muñecas? Like, you were the one running the
You-
muñecas.
you were
Like, I
running
was
the
the one running the
muñecas.
toys, yeah.
That's funny because I remember, obviously I had muñecas, but I have a little brother, right? And so we also played with like action figures. And I remember with the muñecas, I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with these? So I was like, okay, I'm gonna...
I'm like, I got you, girl.
And I was like, I'm supposed to play with them.
fashion
Pero
show.
pues, ¿qué les hago? Ya les cambié 10 veces. ¿Qué más hago con ellas?
You're like, no se besan.
Like, what do I do? What do I do with them? Okay, we'll come back to that. Pero
But sorry. I'm sorry, pobrecita seguí en casita de la
Yo,
pinche
like-
Nalgona, cómo se saborea la paleta.
Yo aquí bien despacito.
No, she was like,
It's because I can't bite it, and so it's gonna melt, you know. Because like I was saying, the noise.
No
So I'd
puedes.
rather just Pero anyhow,
yo acá.
funny. I mean, I'm also the oldest.
Mira, todos, todas.
You know what? I was a sensitive kid.
Yeah.
Like I was like legit
What's your moon? What's your moon?
in Virgo.
Oh, okay.
What
I
I
don't know.
saw.
I'm a Cancer moon, so anyways.
No, but I was a very sensitive kid. Like for
Yeah.
real. Like I think I was truly an empath, not like you other hoes out there.
Not you narcissist empaths.
Right, not y'all. Y'all don't know what's it really like to feel people. No es cierto. Pero, o sea, I just do remember, particularly in 1996, cuando El Niño comes through South America and hit South America really, really bad. I was about 5. And I remember that, like, I would watch TV and cry. And my mom is like, what the hell's wrong with you? ¿Por qué estás llorando? And I'd be like, porque tiene dolor. I'm sufriendo, madre. El dolor. And my mom was like, what the hell? So she banned me from watching news a long time.
Too much for you?
Yeah, it was too much for me. And I would just cry. And she's like,
That's so cute.
it's so
Don't cry right now. Actually, llora. Suéltalo.
I can turn it on. Actriz, ¿qué? No, pero yeah, that's a very vivid image in my mind.
Yeah.
I think I was also a very imaginative person. Siempre me ha encantado la imaginación. Siempre me ha encantado to think of myself as an entertainer. And I'm thinking back and looking back at it now, I mean, it's interesting how life led me where I'm at now, but everything always had to do with performance. I mean, like, even as an organizer, not that I was ever performative in my organizing, but like, there was a reason why they asked me to give speeches at a very young age. And it's because I feel very comfortable in front of a stage. I just didn't know that was a stage at the time.
Y también pues sentías, you felt a lot of emotion.
A lot of emotion and a lot of conviction behind what I say. And so I think that that's always been something very real throughout my entire life. But as a child, I was also a latchkey kid and did things that I shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
Like, I just remember my mom, like, she used to come home from work and my babysitter lived maybe like 4 houses down from where I used to live. But between her and by the time my mom got home, because she went into work so early, she used to take naps. So I was still left alone. You know what I mean? And I somehow found an opportunity, and I must have been younger than 5 because my sister wasn't born yet. I'm 5 years older. But I just remember like I would find the keys, close the door, lock the door, and walk to my babysitter's house. And then somehow my mom would wake up and be like, this fucker's missing. And I was like 3 houses down. But I think about it, I'm like, what kind of a 4-year-old does that?
Like, ya me voy.
Literally, ya me voy.
Ahorita vengo, ma.
Ahorita vengo.
Regreso.
Ya hice la comida, señora. Ya hice la comida. And you know, I think that's always been true. I've always also been non-confrontational. I don't like conflict that really. But I gotta step in. Then I'll fight somebody. You know what I mean? But like, it's never been my thing. My sister is a little bit more hot-tempered than I am for sure. And then I would say I've also just always been a nurturer. Yeah, I've always like coming home from school, and when we were in elementary school, I'd make like sandwiches and quesadillas for my sister, and then my cousin who lived in the front house, because I grew up in the back house, he knew that I was making food for my sister, so he always wanted food too. So he used to make food for my cousin, and then all of a sudden I'm feeding all the children, and I'm like, what the fuck?
You were so nice. I feel like I would make my sister go downstairs, get me hot Cheetos, paletas, bolis.
You're like, she's my little sister. She's gonna do what I say.
I'm like, we'll play together later. We'll play together. Like, get una paleta, and she would run upstairs and
Oh
give me
my
a paleta.
god.
No, I would like
Y tú haciendo sandwiches, frijoles.
dress her like huevos and shit. No, for real. It was, yeah. Like you said, probably part of this trauma is, you know, that as being the oldest.
Yeah,
But
you wanna take care of
I'm
it.
curious what you mentioned earlier. You were talking about like the queer, growing up queer amongst all your tios. I'm wondering, now that we've talked a little bit about who we are as children, when did that little queerness in you begin to flourish?
And then it's interesting, like to also consider like how our, like, you know, either immigrants or children of immigrants, how that also impacted that discovery, ¿verdad? And like whether like following rules or whatever. Yeah. So yeah.
¿Quién quiere empezar?
I mean, I feel like for me, girl, telenovelas,
Oh God.
queer awakening. I feel like I watched telenovelas like my whole childhood.
Who
Like,
did it for you? Who did it for you?
William Levy, Fernando.
Columna.
So fine. And then all the telenovelas with like the rancho and like las
I saw them
haciendas, like on the horses. Like these scenes were crazy. Like they were so fucking hot. Yeah.
Did y'all watch La Mentira? Oh no, you never watched that one.
No. And Diablo con los Guapos. There was like, I mean, Teresa, like Ruby.
Sebastián Rulli, bitch. Oh, Sebastián Rulli.
Something in La Sangre. What was the one with con la pelirroja?
Fuego en la Sangre? I don't even know.
I don't know. But I feel like all of
Sounds right.
those, like, every time
So
there
that
was
was
like, a
a queer
hot guy on
awakening.
TV, I was like,
Pero tú sabías? Like that,
yeah, I
what
feel
you
like
were
desde
feeling?
chiquito, I was like,
You already knew?
okay, I saw like a hot guy on TV and I'd be like, go to the TV and like touch it. And then my mom was coming back from the kitchen. I was like, ay, córrele, siéntate.
Tocabas la tele.
You guys wouldn't touch the TV?
No.
Or I would go like this. I'm like, oh, he's so hot.
For real?
Yeah.
Do you remember how old were you?
I
How
was
old
probably
you were?
really young. I feel like I just like was drawn to it.
See, and you remember that.
You know who did
I
it
was
for
just
me?
drawn to the hot guys on
Pero,
TV.
Chayanne.
pero one thing, like something
yes,
I noticed is that like I can think of things from when I was little. I'm like, oh, that was a flag. But I didn't realize that until I was way older. Like when you were touching the TV, like did you already know that, or did you have to reflect back on that?
No, I think I knew from a very young age. Yeah.
Like for
that
me,
I was attracted
I
to
kind of blocked
guys.
it out. ¿Y tú?
Really?
You know, I think for me, very similar to Cesar, what did it for me was Chayanne.
hot.
I mean,
Yo, he still looks good, by the way.
Yes, he does.
And his son.
Ooh, you know who? Okay.
Okay,
my
pero
two
Chayanne,
people, my two
cuéntame,
people. It was
cuéntame.
Chayanne.
Pero
in this
cuándo,
novela,
dónde, cómo?
in this novela con Yuri. It was called Provócame. And he used to
Provócame.
come out in a yellow tanga. And I was like, what is this? And you know who else did it for me? Perdón. ¿Ves? Ya sí, hasta
No,
me
ya,
emocioné. Ya
tráigame
me
el agua.
emocioné. Eduardo Capetillo en Marimar.
Con
Bitch, I
Marimar.
don't know what it was about that hairy
yes.
chest. Me gustan peludos, para que sepan.
Pa' que sepan.
Make sure you follow us and subscribe to Las Paleteras, el podcast, y me mandan el DM.
Ah,
Si están peluditos y disponibles, huevo. But no, I mean, there was something about, also, I love that shit. Plug. I'm like, make sure to subscribe and follow.
Don't be afraid. It's
Y
like
toca la campanita para que reciban todas las notificaciones. There it is.
Ok, pero cuéntanos,
no, pero,
¿cuántos
o sea,
años tenías? ¿Te acuerdas?
I mean, I must have been like 5 or
también.
4. Yeah, I was
So
very,
you had
very
little
young.
crushes.
There's always a hot guy in a telenovela. Like,
Yeah.
so many hot guys.
And I just remember that I had like a little teddy bear, maybe of sorts. It was like a bunny. I don't know what it was. But I used to make out with it. And I used to think of the little capetillo. And because of the fur, I thought it was hair, so I'd just be like...
Estaba chiquito, la grandote. Like,
No, estaba grandote.
Oye, pero tú también te diste cuenta, like you knew, like, oh, this is like
can't.
this is. Did you think this is different? This is weird. Do you specifically remember? Do you remember
so I
this?
have a very particular understanding of my queerness
Yeah.
because I'm left-handed.
Explica.
So for me, like, I mean, I grew up being... well, I grew up... I'm left-handed.
Obviously, you know.
I'm like, ¿cuál es la left?
Right. Well, as someone who's left-handed, like, I feel like I never got discriminated against in elementary school. Being queer was like being left-handed in the sense of, like, most people are right-handed and only a few people are left-handed, but, like, we all write. I never got discriminated against for being left-handed. So I used to think that most boys like girls, but some boys like boys, but we were all boys at the end of the day. So, because at the end of the day, I mean, that's how left-handed works, you know what I mean? So I used to think that, like, that's what queer was.
You just thought you were like a minority, but it was very normal.
Normal. Yeah, 100%. And so I told the boy in 3rd grade to be my Valentine. And then
Y no se sintió raro. It was just like
no,
you were
he
just...
was, no, that
No,
was,
but for you, what was it?
For me, it was that I was like,
Yeah.
hey, you want to be my Valentine? And he was like, what, faggot? And I was like,
You're like, ¿qué es eso?
Yeah.
¿Y te acuerdas cómo te sentiste después de eso?
Sí, horrible.
How did you feel? Like, what did you do? Like,
Well,
did you
I
seek?
didn't-
Did you seek like como que te apapacharan o no contaste a nadie? Like, what was your like response? Like,
My
do you
reaction
remember?
was I kissed a girl.
You kissed the girl as a response.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because I thought that was the right thing to do.
yeah.
And I just remember just kissed her. Oh my God.
Where, like in recess?
Like that same
Yeah,
day?
bitch.
Okay. That same day? Okay. Or like,
I don't know if it was the same
Wait, I had a
day,
story like that
but
too
maybe
in
the same year. I don't know when. But
Yeah.
like, the memories are
The
there.
same day agarra una.
okay. So y'all's experiences were a little different than mine. So wait, do you remember liking little girls when you were little? O no? Nunca sintieron eso. Nunca. Okay.
Sorry.
So, no, so my experience was different in the sense that I remember having little crushes on boys cuando tenía 5 and 6. Like, I just thought they were so cute. Like, you know, like I don't remember seeing any men. Like, I don't remember like thinking men were attractive cuando estaba niña. Nunca vi nada en la tele que me inspiró así. But I remember I had a crush in kindergarten and in 1st grade. Ernesto y Miguel. Those were my first 2 little crushes. But I kind of blocked out the queerness, and it was as an adult that I like started getting this like memory from when I was little. So it's interesting that you guys remember, but it took me like unlocking a memory. Me acordé that when I was in 1st grade, I used to have a best friend. We used to like play after school, and we used to just like I used to love role playing from a very young age. Like I always like loved playing pretend de todo, no? And so we would pretend that we were grown up and that I was her boyfriend. And so I would put my arm around her shoulder and we would like walk around like back and forth.
That's so cute.
Y que I always wanted to play that game again. I was like, I want to play that game. But like, I forgot about that. I literally like locked up this memory until like I was a full ass adult. And then I like remembered it and I was like, oh my God, ahí estaban las banderitas.
Wow.
But it's something that I put away. So, and I think that's representative of like my experience, which was I tried to lock up those feelings because I grew up very religious. And I was very drawn to spirituality. And the only form of spirituality that I knew was like being Catholic. And what I knew about Catholicism, there were some good things, obviously, but I also knew that to be gay was wrong. And so I think I tried to lock that up. And that was part of it. It's like forgetting that like memory and putting it away. And so a lot of my early youth was me sort of forgetting that part. And it took a long time. Like it wasn't until I was an early teenager that I came back to like those feelings surface as I like, you know, puberty and shit. And I was like, ¿qué es esto?
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that you brought that up because I had like my really best guy cousin growing up who was like a brother to me.
Yeah.
And I feel like he just knew I was gay, queer, like from a young age. But like we finally talked about it and he's like, yeah, I always knew. Now it makes sense. You always wanted to be the girl or like the girl character. Like you always wanted to be Peach, the princess, or like if we played like a game or something, I was like, oh yeah, like I'll be this person or like but I was like the feminine character in like a game, like a video game, or like, I don't know, like it was always super feminine. And I was like, I guess that doesn't make me gay, but like I guess there was little signs when I was growing up that I was like, oh yeah, like I kind of forgot about that too until my primo was like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm like, does it? I don't know.
I don't think I ever, and again, I go back because it was so innocent in many ways. My correlation of being left-handed with being queer, like it's so random.
Yeah, yeah.
But like
You bring a
honestly,
But
little
maybe
like,
helpful,
yeah.
no? Tal vez.
100% helpful in the sense that I feel like I internally always felt normal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You never felt like it was something was wrong within you.
Yeah, and I think it was until I found all of the societal pressures and the ways in which society oppresses you, right? That then I had to find the weird mechanisms to survive,
Yeah.
right? As more than anything else.
Yeah.
And I've always been, I think, solution oriented or solution based.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, cool. I can't get into heaven because I'm a faggot. Well, I'm gonna redeem myself. So I became a monaguillo, and I was a monaguillo for 7 years, bitch. I was like, I'm gonna know the Bible. Jesus better let me in. Like I'm gonna quote the
Not the
Bible. Yes.
You're like walking down the thing, like,
Yes, but truly though, like I remember
Like
when I
really embodying the outfit.
¿Quieres
¿no?
el pan? ¿Quieres el pan?
Right. A ver, pan de Dios. Amen, bitch. Amen. No, but I mean, to be real, I think when I then discovered
Yeah.
that a monaguillo was just wearing legit like a pinche bata, and they were like, you're gonna wear a bata and you're gonna carry the cross, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna wear a bata, carry the cross, and the entire congregation's gonna look at me. Vámonos. Aquí llegó
Say
su Dios.
less,
Give me the
say
spotlight.
Yeah, for real. So low-key, the church was my first performance.
That's
and
so
the first
funny.
script I've ever memorized.
I love that.
I know that.
¿Cuál script?
The church, La Eucaristía, from beginning to end.
Hey, shit.
I know it all. El
Yeah.
Padre Vida.
A ver, no, I'm kidding.
Oremos. No.
Creo, no, I'm kidding.
Es justo y necesario.
Justo y necesario.
On our knees, right?
I can't.
El persino, el persino.
El cáliz de mi sangre. Sangre de la lancia nueva y eterna. No, yeah. We're gonna get it.
No,
we're
you're
gonna
doing
get
it so
we're
good.
gonna get
We're
You
gonna
could
get a
be-
letter from the
you
Pope,
could-
girl,
You could be a good
tomorrow.
sacerdote.
Shut up.
I would go to your church.
Thank you.
I will go to your church.
Church nalgas. No, but I just think it was interesting to figure out how to navigate that world and then how to figure out the survival tactics of it
Right.
all.
And I think that focusing like the survival, because like
Yeah,
what did that take, right? So
Yeah.
that was your way to sort of cope in a way. Like lean
100%.
into religion.
No, 100%. Yeah, and of course, even that was my mind then, and then of course, things happen and develop and change.
Sí.
But it's interesting, at least as a queer kid, to know that so much of my queerness was rooted. Again, it was very innocent. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm grateful now. I mean, now that I'm older, I think about it. I'm like, what a fucking privilege that I was able to sit with this moment of being able to be so unapologetic about my identity at such a young age.
Mhm.
Of course, I didn't know and went back into the closet and all those different
Yeah.
things.
Mhm.
But how beautiful to be out there and just be me.
Yeah, and so innocent and
Yeah.
so beautiful, and
I
it's
know.
really so tragic that it's not so easy.
Pero no pudieron conmigo. Aquí estoy.
I wanted like
Aquí
little
está.
pictures of
Pues-
all of us when we were little.
I know.
Oh, that'd be fun.
So
Really
cute.
Well,
Pues
edit it in
hablando de survival, like Cesar, for you, what was it like? Like you realize you've come to terms with it. Like as a youth, how did you sort of survive through it or work through it? And was there some kind of hiding? Like cómo fue that journey for
I
you?
mean, I feel like I always knew,
Right.
but I feel like I was always like, I mean, I grew up in like a very Mexican
También,
Catholic
yeah.
household, like super like machista, traditional. And I feel like there was always little comments of like, oh, esta persona se viste así, es bien like maricón or like bien jota, da, da. But it literally came from one of my tias growing up that would make little jokes about like, ¿por qué te vistes así? Da, da, da. And I'm like, girl, we're on the same community, like, and you're like projecting like a lot of stuff onto me. And I was like little, so I feel like,
Wait, she was a tía that was queer también?
yeah.
Ah, okay.
So like I feel like from her, it's like it's kind of weird because it's like I feel like we could relate, but then at the same time you're
Yeah.
like making little jabs when you're younger, and it makes you like so insecure because I feel like I was super like confident. I'm always like a very happy person, like very outgoing, like just want to laugh and everything. But I feel like it was like when you're going through like puberty and stuff, and you're trying to figure out like cómo te gusta vestirte. And I feel like I always had to like change or like change how I walk, change how I talk, my mannerisms like around certain people.
So you were actively working on it. You
yeah, I
remember
feel like I
that?
was actively trying not to get like
to be more
outed, but everyone
like more
knew.
masculine.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I wouldn't like associate myself with like the gay people that I knew just because I was like, oh no, like I don't want to be, you know what I mean? Or like my
Yeah.
dad would be like, you can't wear that, or like you should be wearing this. So I feel like I always had to like tiptoe,
Yeah.
even though I already knew. But it wasn't until like college when like I left home, I went to like Chicago, lived in the city, and found other queer people that like I came back home and I was like, Ama, like honestly, like if you don't, as long as you guys accept me, that's all I care about.
Like the
my
rest of the
tios are
tios
gonna
and
talk-
tias, like whatever.
Yeah, I'm like my tios and tias are gonna talk regardless.
Yeah.
But like as long as you guys accept me, like that's all I care about. Cause like
Yeah.
they don't pay my bills, no pagan mi renta, no les debo nada. Like, cause I feel like our community is always worried about like, ¿qué dirán o qué va a decir esta persona? And I'm like, I'm finally happy in who I am, and I'm like discovering my sexuality, discovering my queerness. That like, I'm doing what I want to do, I'm pursuing what I want to do, and like that's it.
Yeah.
Like, why am I hiding again? It's like a little kid.
Yeah.
Do you feel that you had to do some of that code switching?
100%. I feel like I went all in on like being like performing womanhood.
Oh.
I mean, I was in fifth grade, and I kind of dressed like what people, used to call like a tomboy, ¿verdad? But I never even thought about it like being representative of anything. Así como tú, like you, I'm just like left-handed. I'm like, I just like to wear big t-shirts and pants, but I never thought about it like correlating at all con orientation or anything like that. I just liked it, ¿verdad? No sabía nada de nada. And then this little boy was like, so are you a boy or are you a girl? Because you dress like a boy, but you look like a girl.
Like, bitch, I don't know.
I'm getting flashbacks now. With these questions. I hung out with all the girls.
And I was like, no one had ever like had a question. I had never like internalized that kind of thought before. And I was like, pues soy niña. I had never thought that. And I remember after that, like I started like dressing more feminine to fit the part of what I was supposed to dress like. And so I think the rest of my like youth was me overperforming womanhood to like be what I was supposed to be. And that also meant that like, I remember in high school, I started to see some like women that were queer, lesbians that were like on the basketball team. And I was like, and a lot of them were more masked. And I was like, oh, I'm not like them. Like, but I started.
Oh, no.
We are not like that.
But like that was.
But I feel like we do that. We like internalize.
Because and honestly, like if I really
things.
was being myself, I might have dressed more masked, right? But to me, like seeing them, I was rejecting that because that was like I was perhaps seeing the mask in me, ¿verdad? And so like I feel like it was a lot of hiding. It was a lot of me pretending all through high school in order to like fit in and reject this thing that I thought was not okay because I was really religious. And I remember I have a journal entry when I really realized that I liked women. At that time, I thought I was bi. I had a period where I was like, still not like, and people stay bi, obviously. But for me, it was, for some people, it is like sort of an entry point. For me, it was like an entry point. And so at that point, I was like 15 and I was like, I know, like there had been a progression. Primero era like, ay, se me hacen muy bonitas las niñas. No quiero hacer nada con ellas, but they're so cute, right? And then it was like, okay, maybe I would kiss one, but I would never like do one. I used that term. And then finally, I was like 15 and I saw a journal entry and I was like, oh no, because I remember it was a girl on my tennis team. It was my first real crush tennis team. And she used to like sit right next to me and just like feeling her leg right next to my leg. I was like, yes, and I was starting to feel, the first time I felt anything, I was like old, I was 15 or 14, whatever. And I wrote in my journal, I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I really like this girl, but I really want to be a good Catholic. I don't know what I have to do, but I'm going to have to figure this out. And that was my last journal entry. Y ya no escribí en el journal.
And then she was a bad Catholic.
and then I was in the closet.
Se fue a confesar.
¿Sabes que una vez me confesé con un padre? And I told him this.
Bitch, me too.
I was like 17. I was 17 and I was like, you did this too? And I was like, because I hadn't told anybody. Nadie había dicho. I was in the closet by myself forever. And I was 17, me confesé, estábamos en Mexico, and I was like, I'm going to tell him.
Okay.
And I told him, and he was like, I think that, like, who are you hanging out with? I think somebody's just, like, being a bad influence on you. And I was like, but you know what was good about that moment is that even though I was still in the closet for a lot longer after that, when I came out, I was like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And I was like, there's something in me, even though I stayed in the closet longer than that still knew, like, no, fuck this guy. Like, this is who I am, and he doesn't really understand like what I'm feeling. These are real feelings, and these are feelings that I can't change. And I knew that. I knew my feelings were real. So at least there was that. There was that. What was your confession?
I was 17 too.
También.
And I was like, listen, I like men or whatever. And he was like, it's okay. It's like a drug addiction. But you can always go to rehab. And I was like, pues esta es una droga que me gusta. Pues a mí me gusta.
Quiero más.
Quiero más. Well, listen, I think slowly we're getting to the end of this first episode, though I feel like we can continue on.
Of course.
Which is good, because then that means that there's so much more to do and so much more to talk about. But I'm curious to hear, now that we are at this age, what do you think are some of the things that you work through from, or are still working through, from like our inner queer selves to now?
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, because like a part of me was like hiding so much of me and trying to perform, like my adulthood has been like rediscovering me and seeing all the ways in which I've been like limiting myself. Entonces es como que trabajando on like rediscovering myself, rediscovering my voice, and like me being on podcasts has been me like expressing a visibility and a voice that for so long I realized how much I was hiding, how much I was staying small, how much I didn't speak in classrooms as I got older, because I think it was connected to me hiding a big part of myself. Like I didn't come out until I was in my 20s, so it took me a long time. So es como eso, rediscovering and just seeing my queerness as a source of como like liberation and trying to stay onto that. Because I feel like when I start to get away from myself is because I'm getting caught up in como heteronormative things again, you know? So just seeing my queerness as reminding me there's so much strength in like in our stories, and really being who you are is a really source of strength that we can keep applying in so many parts of our lives. So I would start with that. Yeah.
What about you?
I feel like for me, especially like these last 2-3 years, I've been like just trying to discover myself more like sexually, but also like in how I dress and everything, but also trying to remind like little Caesar that was like 8 years old, like little Cesarin, like what I wish I could have done back then. Like I wish I could have dressed up and been more confident to like dress a certain way or act a certain way, or like, yeah, I didn't give a fuck if I was hanging out with all the girls and that's it, like, and get called, you know what I mean? Like that's where I felt safe, and that's where I like felt like I had like people that supported me. But yeah, I feel like now every day I'm just like so intentional of like, okay, like is little Cesar proud of this, or like I want to dress like this because little Cesar back in the day wish he could have dressed like this, and not giving a fuck about like what my tios would have said, what people would have said walking down the street, but like I don't know, making sure like the next generation of little queers see us everywhere.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
I love that. I think very similarly to both of you, I just decided to lean in.
Yeah.
You know, I think there was a moment where that question, even as an adult, are you a boy or a girl?
Yeah.
Pero
Dude, that question.
Ahora me pregunta,
I know, right?
señora o señora, and I'm like, por lo menos tiene modales, por lo menos reconoce que soy mayor. But no, no tanto, amigas. But no, I think just leaning in and being okay, and the way I say now is that I have learned to reclaim my femininity whilst also redefining my masculinity. Like, even though I identify as a femme, I also have to realize that I was raised by the patriarchy. I might have felt that masculinity, but that does not mean that I still wasn't raised by it, right?
Yeah.
The only reason why I've been organizing for such a long time is because people gave a gay man the platform. You know, and so as I've gotten
calling
older,
that out.
yeah, and calling that out, because I have to be hella real.
Yeah.
And I mean, I also been raised to think that this is what boys do. I think most of the things that I was working through, running away from home, like that was more of my thing. Like that's how I was a rebel. You know, like I was like me portaba mal by running away from home, but my parents didn't know that I was out here doing the gay shit. You know, like I was out here living the streets.
If our parents knew the stuff we did,
girl, let me tell you,
me encierran.
sneaking into the arena at 15. Shout out to Tiger Heat. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. See, I found a way to put that in there. The producer's laughing. I found a way to bring it into today's episode. But no, I think it was leaning in and just being like, fuck it. And similar to what you said, Cesar, I think my friend Nacho, who designs all of the beautiful clothing.
Another shameless plug.
Check out Nacho Jota. But no, we've been talking about that so much of what his brand is is also healing our inner queer children. Because we get to wear the things now that we couldn't wear as queer children for
Yeah.
whatever reason. And so I think leaning into that, into being more open, into like even now at like 33, right? Dyeing my hair pink and why? I don't
Yeah.
know.
I love that.
No, yeah,
but
that's beautiful.
I know the real tears of my sobrino was like, Tio, why is your hair gray? And I was like, damn, bitch. Not the canas. Not like you being a 5-year-old recognizing you have so many canas.
They notice everything.
I
Yo me pinté
know.
las uñitas y se notan todo.
Yeah.
Te pintaste las uñas. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
And you're like,
That being said, what a beautiful first episode. Is there anything you want to leave folks with? Invite them back to the podcast? What
Pues,
do you
you know,
wanna
I mean,
say?
I hope they felt like seen, you know, whether you're queer or not. I think all of us have grown up at times trying to be something for somebody else that wasn't for us, right? So like what, you know, we invite you to have those reflections. And I mean, we're going to talk about that in future episodes. And, you know, going back to the question of, you know, eres niño, eres niña, I feel like that question was so triggering to me as a young age, but now it's a liberating question, right?
100%.
Because I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm getting rid of that non-binary thinking and thinking myself as a human with feminine and masculine. Like, that has been so beautiful and so liberating. And that's the binary that I want to get rid of. And I want to invite other people to do that with us.
I
¿Verdad?
celebrate that question.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite lines, one of the poems that I have about gender pronouns.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that exactly that. Like, I celebrate this questioning because there's something about this body that people don't know how to handle.
Yeah.
And so that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that invitation. ¿Y tú?
Wait,
¿Qué le
I love
dices?
that. I feel like this first episode, we could have kept diving in more and more, but yeah, I feel like after listening to this episode and watching it, take some time to like think about your little you when you were younger and like what you would tell that person and like how you could encourage them if you had that role model when you were younger. Because I feel like a lot of us might not have had that. I don't know. At least I didn't. So I feel like that's something that I encourage.
So dense mucho cariño a sus little
Yeah,
baby
put yourself
yous.
first. Dense cariño.
Y pues con eso,
Bueno, amigas, con eso ya nos despedimos. We are Las Paleteras. So make sure you follow us on all our socials at Las Paleteras Podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you know when the next episode is out. Y recuerden que por eso la vida es más sabrosa con nosotras.
Las Paleteras.
Las Paleteras.
Hi, Paletitas. This podcast is produced by Joel and Elpidio Perez, along with your hosts. Las Paleteras is edited by Augusto Martinez, with music by Cintia Morado and Ingrid Guijarro. Special thanks to our friends at Mitu and Sonoro for production support.